Good morning from the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. Gunfire and explosions have been heard here and in the second city of Kharkiv shortly after the Russian President Vladimir Putin authorized a special military operation in Ukraine's Donbass region and told the Ukrainian military to lay down their weapons and go home. In a special televised address on Russian state TV, Mr. Putin said Russia had been left with no choice but to defend itself against what he said were threats from Ukraine. This is what we know so far. In Moscow, Vladimir Putin announced the military operation just before 3 a.m. UK time. At the same time, an emergency meeting of the Security Council was taking place in New York. As President Putin spoke before dawn, big explosions were heard on the outskirts of Kiev, Kharkiv, Odessa and other cities across Ukraine. There are reports that Russian troops have landed in Mariupol and Odessa. They have not been confirmed. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has declared martial law in Ukraine and told people to stay home. Well, since then, we've had a series of developments throughout the morning. Air raid sirens have been heard here in the capital, Kiev, though we are told they are tests at the moment. In the Donetsk region, Russian-backed separatists say they have launched what they call massive strikes against Ukrainian forces. More recently, the Ukrainian military say their air defense system shot down 5 Russian planes and 1 Russian helicopter in the Luhansk region, though the Russians have denied that that has happened. And in the UK, the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is expected to convene that Cobra committee meeting I was talking about at 7:30 this morning. Let's listen back to that special address on Russian television by Vladimir Putin in the early hours of this morning.
I decided to conduct a special military operation. Its goal is the protection of the people who, for 8 years, suffered from abuse and genocide from the Kiev regime. We urge you to lay down arms immediately and go home. I will explain. All servicemen of the Ukrainian army who comply with this requirement can freely leave the area of military action and return to their families. Whoever would try to stop us and further create threats to our country, to our people, should know that Russia's response will be immediate and lead you to such consequences that you have never faced in your history. We are ready for any outcome.
Well, a few hours ago, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky declared martial law here, and he urged citizens not to panic as Russia launched their military strikes. Let's take a look at what he said in a video posted on his social media channels.
Dear Ukrainians, this morning President Putin announced a special military operation in the Donbass. Russia carried out strikes on our military infrastructure, on our border guards. Explosions were heard in many cities of Ukraine. We introduced martial law throughout the state. A minute ago, I had a conversation with President Biden. The US is starting to gather international support. Today, we need you, each of you, to be calm. If possible, stay at home, please. We are working. The army is working. The entire security and defense sector of Ukraine is working. I, the National Security and Defense Council, the government, will be in touch. Soon I will be in touch again. Do not panic. We are strong. We are ready for everything and we will defeat everyone because we are Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine.
President Zelensky talking to the people of Ukraine there. Western leaders have been reacting to what has happened this morning. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, he tweeted this: "I am appalled by the horrific events in Ukraine and I have spoken to President Zelensky to discuss the next steps." President Putin has chosen a path of bloodshed and destruction by launching this unprovoked attack on Ukraine. The UK and our allies will respond decisively. In the United States, US President Joe Biden said the prayers of the entire world are with the people of Ukraine as they suffer an unprovoked and unjustified attack by Russian military forces. Mr. Biden said President Putin has chosen a premeditated war that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering, and that the world will hold Russia accountable. The US President says he will be monitoring the situation from the White House and will continue to get regular updates from his national security team. He says he will meet with his G7 counterparts in the morning. In Europe, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says, in these dark hours, our thoughts are with Ukraine and the innocent women, men and children as they face this unprovoked attack and fear for their lives. The Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has urged the world to act immediately, warning that the future of Europe and the world was at stake. He's called for devastating sanctions, as he put it, on Russia now, and for Russia to be fully isolated. He also called for more weapons, equipment, financial and humanitarian assistance for Ukraine. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said Russia must stop this military action immediately. Today, he said, we will coordinate closely within the framework of the G7, NATO and the EU. Mr. Scholz added, this is a terrible day for Ukraine and a dark day for Europe. So, let's have a look at the map that shows the rebel-held areas of Donetsk and Luhansk. There we are. That's the center of all this, down in southeastern Ukraine's Donbas region. Earlier this week, Russia recognized the regions as independent from Ukraine and signed friendship treaties with both of them. Ukraine considers them, and the UN considers them, temporarily occupied territories, but Russia say they are theirs, and they annexed Crimea. And to the south of Donetsk is Mariupol, which lies outside of the rebel-held area. But this morning, reports of at least 2 blasts have been heard in that city. So clearly, a lot of action going on down there. Deborah Haynes is with me, and so Deborah, I mean, we could see there the map of Donetsk, and a lot of action clearly going on there, and this was the justification used by Putin. But just give us, as you know it, what is happening in this country.
Well, in terms of that justification, you heard President Putin talking about genocide, which is just completely false. He's created this false narrative to justify what he's done, saying that there's been like these attacks in the east and that the Ukrainian government poses that threat, which is just not true. And in terms of what is
Deborah, I do apologise. We're just going to lose a guest. It's a Ukrainian MP. I will come straight back to you. Lesia Vasilenko is a member of the of the Ukrainian Parliament in Kiev, and she can speak to us now. And can you just give us, first of all, your reaction to what is happening to your country this morning?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say that it's not separatist-held areas or whatever the terminology you were using. These are Ukrainian territories which are occupied today, not by separatists, but by Russian armies, irregular forces of the Russian military, and also regular Russian military, which has broken Ukrainian borders, which is bombing Ukrainian airports, and which is literally marching onto Kyiv and other cities. So this must be very clear. We're not talking about any kind of civil war or any hints at civil war. Literally, Ukraine is at war, a war which was declared by Russia at 5 a.m. this morning, Kyiv time officially, and 3 a.m. UK time, but also a war which has started several hours before that, when the first shellings of eastern parts of Ukraine have started. So I urge you all, please, the media, the international community, politicians, to use the proper language. There are no separatists. These are Russian military which are attacking a sovereign, independent country which is merely fighting for the right to exist.
Absolutely. And what do you think that President Putin wants to achieve here?
Well, it is clear he doesn't want Ukraine to exist as is. He is either going to destroy our country physically, or he is going to destroy us politically by putting pressure now on the people, keeping the people in fear, and making sure that the politicians like myself come into parliament and vote for ridiculous decisions, saying that Ukraine will never be part of NATO, saying that Ukraine admits that Crimea is Russian, and whatever other complete madness that he has in his mind in order to rebuild his Russian empire. And this is the crazy world that we live in today. Just this morning, I've been up since 5:30 a.m. Kyiv time. And at 7 a.m., I was already in the Rada, prepared to vote for the martial law. And we voted the martial law in. Ukraine is in a state of war, a war declared by Russia on Ukraine, and which started back in 2014 with Russian aggression.